to the End of the Internet podcast. I'm your host, Gonzalo, and if you found us, well, congratulations. You have made your way to the end of the internet. On today's episode, we're going to conclude our two-part series on what Marcus and I think would be a perfect, stellar, sweaty, awesome, tailor-made Batman movie. In the first part, we had given you Marcus's take on what he would love to see in a Batman film, and on this episode I will give you my take on what I would love to see in a Batman film. Not going to be too long because you will get way too much of my voice in this episode. I felt a little embarrassed going through the edit, just listening to myself ramble on about Batman, but again, it's always a fun time. We wanted to thank all of our listeners and people who have commented and subscribed, liked the videos, shared them around. We really appreciate you guys. Over the next couple of weeks, Marcus and I will be discussing what topics we will share with you. We have a couple that are in the bag, and then one kind of bigger episode that we had hoped to do. It was one of the first things that we thought of when we thought about doing the podcast. So we're looking forward to that. We just got to set aside the time and get all the schedules in order so that we can record that. But without further delay, here is my take on what I would love to see in a Batman movie. Thank you guys so much, and we'll talk to you soon. Okay, so picking up where the last episode left off, we were discussing our ideal version of a Batman movie. And instead of going for 2.5 to 3 hours, we decided to cut it up into two parts. So the first episode that hopefully you all listened to was mostly Marcus's idea of a dream Batman movie, but not necessarily alone. And I think the same thing's going to happen now. Like, I'll give a big take on what I would like to see in a Batman movie, but of course with Marcus's input and kind of like, I guess maybe steering or guiding the ship. So that is what we're going to be discussing. The first thing I think that I would really enjoy in a Batman, I think it would be selfish and do 3 movies too. I definitely do a trilogy because it's an easy way to do a long, significant Batman tale. And I think without doing a serialized story, then you're not doing the character any justice. I think a lot of comics adapt really well to television, but since let's say we had the big budget to do 3 movies. The first one would be something akin to Dredd and The Raid. Like, I would love to see Batman go into a building run by some crime lord, right? And I wasn't 100% sure about this, but what I would want to do is first kind of, I wouldn't want there to be like a MacGuffin. I wouldn't want there to be like a mystery, but I want there to be a reason that Bruce shows up, Batman, at the beginning of the night.
Do you think there's ever been a movie that used MacGuffin as an actual thing? It's like, this is the MacGuffin.
Right? They just said it. It's like, well, the MacGuffin's in the background.
Yeah.
So it starts like right when the sun goes down and he gets to some tenement building or something. I wouldn't want him to do Arkham because I think that's a little problematic, and that could be so much more fun, I guess, psychologically. But
and also with established characters and stuff. Like, once you've established kind of like, oh, this is the world we live in, then we want to see Arkham in that world.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. And also I would like to see a movie that is almost primarily nothing but Batman. Like, not a lot of Bruce Wayne and shadows and training, and then maybe like 10 minutes total of Batman. Like, I would like to see Batman be the main character of his movie, the focus of his movie. I would want it to be something not in style or tone or theme, but spiritually the way that I think The Punisher works on Netflix. And that in both seasons and even in Daredevil, I think Frank Castle is the most interesting thing on screen, and he's the main character of his story. So you always care about Frank, and when he's not on screen, it kind of slides, it kind of gets slow and it kind of gets bloated, and kind of like, okay, can we just get back to Frank,
Yeah.
And it's surprising that any comic thing is like that. There's a lot of ancillary characters that tend to steal spotlight. They're villains that tend to overshadow the hero, but I don't know how you feel about Punisher, but I think Punisher's fantastic. And
yeah, I agree.
I love
actually,
that, like, Frank is, you just want to see more of Frank, and it's his fucking story.
I actually get bothered, like, especially in season 1. I actually got bothered when they were like following side characters and stuff. Like, I get it, development. Let's go back to Frankie.
There were some problems with the side characters in season 2, but yeah, overall, I just want to get back to it. So hopefully my ideal Batman movie would be that. It would be just Batman focused and a lot of him in the costume. I think it'd be cool. I think when we talk about what we want from a Batman movie, we want this, that, and the other. But something I think a lot of fans don't know that they're missing is a lot of fucking Batman on screen. We don't get to see a lot of him.
Yeah.
And so going up this kind of like tenement tower where he's facing kind of like mid bosses and, you know, like Mega Man, you know, whatever, would provide a lot of action. You get a really good, you know, stunt choreographer, get a great team. And
you know what it reminds me of? You basically want like a long, beautifully shot, dread-like Batman movie, like the way Keaton had to climb the church to get to the Joker.
Yeah.
But a fucking awesome.
But nothing but that.
But nothing but that.
It's, I think that and Dread, the one written by Alex Garland, that with Carl Urban, just, all right, start at the bottom and work your way up, you know, and he has to rely on his wits, his gadgets, just what he has on his belt he doesn't have, you know, like the Batwing can't fly in and save his life, and, you know,
the Batmobile crashes through a wall.
Nothing like that, just Batman. Maybe he can have communication with Alfred, which I would really like, you know, some communication, but not a whole bunch. It's just him kind of, his wits, his life, and then through each layer is kind of like an ascension that's almost like Dante's Inferno. You can do something where he's like going through the levels of hell. This is Bruce kind of going through the levels of his psyche a bit. So you get a little
wow.
And each kind of, I guess, tier boss represents some part of him that's a little damaged, but none of the big guns, right? You don't want to pull out any of the big guns. I think the two biggest villains I would use in this is Deadshot and Deathstroke. And I'm like, recently obsessed with these characters because of their rivalry.
Where did that come from?
I don't know. I really don't know. But what I would want is, and this, I don't know if this is stupid. Tell me if this is dumb.
It's dumb. I'm just kidding. Go.
But so Bruce starts at the bottom and he works his way up, and you find out through this that he's like, I don't know, maybe 23, 24, right? It's a young version of Batman. And by the time we get to the top, by the time that he fights the final boss or whatever, you know, the sun's going to come up, he finally gets back to Wayne Manor and this and that. And I don't know how you would do it, and I don't have the brain to think of it right now, but you find out that, like, Bruce Wayne was the one that hired this hit. Like, Bruce sought out some third party to hire Deathstroke, the Terminator, and Deadshot, so that it's more disinformation in the criminal underbelly that Bruce Wayne is a rich psychopath, and he wanted to create a gauntlet for the Batman to see if he was any good. But Bruce did it himself, so he's spreading disinformation about Bruce Wayne and Batman. He's also making Bruce an almost corruptible figure, so he can move a little bit easier within the aristocratic society of Gotham.
Kind of like this is Bruce Wayne matches Malone kind of situation. He's planting himself in the higher level of the criminal underworld.
And like that way he kind of earns the trust more of people in power. Eventually maybe a Lex Luthor or something.
I feel like this is that my little thing about having to help people who work on the bat gadgets. Like I feel like some people were like, that's fucking stupid, and other people were like, that's fucking brilliant.
I don't know.
I feel like this is fucking like, that is that level of like, dude, I kind of dig that.
Right, it's like one or the other. I'm not 100% sure, but so Bruce would do this also to test himself. How good is he? How ready is he to take on the mantle of the Guardian of Gotham City, right? Because in this story, like, one thing that I would want the overarching 3 movies to be about is, a lot of times they say, oh, the soul of Gotham City, right? He's fighting for the city. But the city itself, in my opinion, is Thomas and Martha Wayne. So I feel like its heart was broken when they were killed, and the city kind of fell apart. And Bruce is not only fighting for the people that live in the city, but he's fighting for his parents. His parents were fucking Gotham. And when they were gunned down in a city that they loved and sacrificed so much for, he's fighting for them. So it's super important because he has an attachment. Like, they are, if he can save Gotham, then it's like he saved his parents. Do you know what I mean? Like, that's what he's chasing. That's what he's trying to fight for.
That's really interesting. Like, I like it, but I'm like, oh yeah, that we need to fucking work that out, because I kind of dig that idea that, because we've always talked about Batman being someone who's ridiculously smart, and why wouldn't a ridiculously smart person use his alter ego not only for good with foundations and all that stuff and that money, but also in that people at this level of rich money, status are really easily corruptible, and everyone would believe that Bruce, and then maybe he's so smart that he has these weird fail safes to where people are like, nah, Bruce Wayne's corrupt as a motherfucker.
Yeah.
And then also, but have enough evidence to go, I've never been involved with any of those things. So that way, his name always stays clean, and there's no like breaking news. Bruce Wayne connected to human trafficking.
Yeah.
You know, versus like, but he's planted himself just enough to where some criminal organizations might maybe not work with him or want to work with him, but they just know, oh yeah, Bruce is.
Yeah,
there's no way he's Batman.
Yeah, exactly. It would be easier for him to move and operate within the more corrupt companies of Gotham and of the East Coast and of like the DC universe at large if word is he's not the most stand-up of businessmen.
Yeah.
You know, and it would also kind of deflect like maybe Bruce Wayne is Batman, which again I'm gonna say this one time and I'll never be able to think any other way to describe it. Like a lot of people think, how could you not tell that Bruce Wayne is Batman, you know, and say, would you ever believe that Paris Hilton was Batman? Like,
yeah,
that's it. You know, if that's how Bruce Wayne is perceived in the public of Gotham,
yeah,
let alone the world,
he's akin to Paris
think
Hilton.
about Paris Hilton, and in her secret off hours she's Batman. Would you ever believe that? If anybody ever said, I figured it out, Paris Hilton is Batman.
I figured it out.
No, she's not. There's no
Yeah.
fucking way. You know, that's just how I feel. But it would be a great way for him to kind of, I think, test himself. And he would hire these people that, like, and this is a kind of like 22, 23-year-old Batman that isn't necessarily healed mentally. So he doesn't necessarily care if he dies, right? So he's like, I'm going to stack the deck against myself to test myself. And if I die, well, I die, you know, because maybe I won't be worthy. I'm not necessarily feeling whole yet. You know, I don't think that Bruce is a broken character, especially like in his 30s, like the 32-year-old perfect Batman. I think he has found a way to heal his mind, and he doesn't think about his parents all the time, but he uses that as motivation, like the way you would look up to your father or look up to a sports figure and keep you motivated forever and ever, you know. But at this time he's still really raw about it because he's finally at a place where he can actually affect change physically and socially, politically, economically. He can actually now, returning as the head of Wayne Enterprises and as a vigilante, make actual change. I can start punching things in the face. You know? But if he gets these two, he's still so fucking cavalier and almost kamikaze-esque.
Yeah.
That if he goes down, he doesn't really care. So.
It's kind of like a weird, that version of Batman, like the Dark Knight. He's like, you know, he doesn't want to do this forever, you know? Like, he's looking for someone, how could he? He's looking for someone to take up the mantle, but in this case, it's more like, I'm not going to do this forever because I'm probably going to die doing this. Because I know I'm not delusional. I'm dressing up as a fucking vigilante, going night after night, fighting the most corrupted fucking people and evil people. You don't take up the mantle of the Bat thinking that, I'm going to be doing this for 20 years. It's like, it's probably a fucking one-way ticket. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
But at some point, as he got older, he was like, I have something to fight for.
And
you know?
and even this ascension through all of it, like at the beginning, he's like, I'm fighting against a system. I'm fighting against the laws of nature. So how could I possibly hope to win? And then by the end of it, he's like, no, I can make a difference. I can fight for something. I believe in myself. You know, like,
it'd be really cool, and I don't know how you would be able to. I mean, I'm sure you could be able to film it, and like the super sweaty Batman fans could see it. But it'd be really cool in your 3-movie deal. That first movie, Batman fights just really like violently. Like it's just like every blow is really brutal. Like he's just very vicious in his fighting because he's just, you know, fueled on rage. And as the movies progress, by the 3rd movie, he fights so tactically sound that it's more of like that idea of like put him down fast.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, what's the fastest way I can put you down without having to break 187 bones in your body? You know what I mean? Like that'd be a really cool fucking like young Batman is like cracking knees and shit.
You get this whole like this very brutal Batman up this tower, and so you get a whole movie of
That's
that.
what I'm saying.
Like,
that would be so awesome.
All of the Rockstar out of it, you know, like the Rockstar, the fucking Arkham Knight, and or Arkham Asylum. But then he kind of moves forward. He's growing as a character, his humanity and stuff, which is super, super important.
First movie, he's fighting like Ben Affleck. 3rd movie, he's fighting like Christian Bale. It's just like click, click, boom, down.
Yeah, exactly.
KO.
Which would be cool because you could like tell more of his story and his growth through the way he's fighting. And you can look back on him. Another thing that I really thought was a missed opportunity that they hinted at in the DCEU, and you and I have talked about it before, was a unifying event, right? So in the trailer for Batman v Superman, we saw that Bruce was there in Metropolis the day that Superman fought Zod. And I thought, oh, cool. All of them should be there. All the DCE movies should start. Where were they the day that it happened? And I think, and this is something that I I think you and I have also talked about with Gotham, which was a real missed opportunity, but I would like to see in this is that the murder of the Waynes was something that affected a bunch of people all at once. Like, I think it's kind of, maybe it's hinted at in Gotham. I think I saw episode 1, but I don't remember. But like when the Waynes are killed, that Selena Kyle is somewhere there, like in the alley, right? And that maybe
rummaging through trash.
Yeah. I think that was, I can't remember.
Right? Wasn't she like supposed to be like
yeah,
like a runaway or homeless or some
but
shit?
Something that like she happened to be there. She saw this violent thing happen, or she was around after. You know, like she saw the cops show up and she just kind of like was paying attention. Maybe Pamela Isley was with her family across the street or something. Maybe like I think that some version of the Joker, or maybe just a man in shadow, you know, like a pale kid or whatever you want to do, is just like you just see eyes staring at this crazy event. You know, it's something that I feel like I would want, as dumb as this sounds, like Gotham is a character in the story too, you know, like how Gotham chews people up and spits them out and how it has its own kind of personality, I think would be great to work into the fabric of the story. And this event that changed the course of Bruce Wayne's life also changed the course of Gotham City, and it changed the course of all these other people because they happened to be around or they felt the vibrations of it. So some of them were like, this is what the city is, and that could be Selena. And then this is what life is, that could be the Joker. Like, oh, this is craziness, you know, it's just fucking life is nuts. And, you know, like...
Another one of those cards in the House of Cards that Joker will eventually use when he loses it. It's like, this is what the world does. You know what I mean? It fucking kills.
Yeah, it'll take these philanthropists and put them in the ground, you know?
Yeah.
It will raise someone like Rupert Thorne or, you know, Carmine Falcone to great heights by stepping on the wills of the innocent or whatever, you know?
Yeah.
And it is, I don't
That's
like,
the joke.
Yeah, and it, maybe, you know, Edward Nygma was watching TV, a report about it, you know, just something that kind of like unites a large cross section of it's like a crossword puzzle that everybody kind of had to experience. And it's something that, since this is kind of its own reality, its own earth, you know, would be this version of the Batman legend, is that everybody was affected by the Waynes, not just Batman, or not just Bruce.
I dig that. I really do. I dig all of that. I think that'd be really fun to flesh out. But I really am drawn to the idea that maybe Selena was there in an alley where they like it affected her to a point where she was like, this city is fucked, and like made her in a weird way stronger, like like survival of the fittest. Maybe she was as a young kid, like not necessarily feeling sorry for herself, but just like that, you know, the little tear in her eye, like I don't know what I'm doing with my life, you know, and then witness this horrid murder, and like that toughened her up. I like that idea that maybe Selena Kyle and Batman on those both in that night, one was going to become Batman and one was going to become Catwoman, like that one thing. And I like how you're saying that for everybody, but
or maybe it's just those three, like this trinity, right? It's Catwoman, Batman, and the Joker that all happen to be there. Like the Joker has escaped from his dad after another fucking brutal beating or something. He's sitting on the roof above the opera house, and let's say, like I said, like I love the idea of Selena kind of like scavenging for food, you know, and she's just like, I'm bored, or I'm sad, life is shitty, you know, like. And then this happens, and they're all like, they're shaken, you know, like Selena stops what she's doing to kind of like peer over the dumpster and see what the fuck just happened. And the Joker is sitting on top of a, you know, skyscraper, the opera house, and he looks over like, what the fuck is that? And these aren't unknown people. People know who the Waynes are, you know, and to just kind of like to have that be foundational to the three characters and how they constantly like intertwine with each other would be really cool. I think it would be a way to make the Wayne death matter in a way that I think like it sometimes doesn't, you know?
Yeah, it's like it's just the MacGuffin. Just kidding. Yeah, it's just the trigger that starts Batman. You know, everyone's like, you've kind of lost that, like what it's supposed to mean. You know, I think it'd be really interesting, and I mean, we don't have to dive deeper into that, but I have to get this out. I think it'd be really interesting, and I don't know if this sounds corny or like we're really pushing the envelope on cheese. But it'd be kind of cool is like maybe a month or a week, a couple of weeks before they died, maybe Thomas and Martha at the hospital, like let's say it was around Christmas time. And it's like, you know, we're having a toy drive and we're giving toys to kids, like come down, like, you know what I mean? And they were there handing out toys and like playing Santa kind of thing. And that Selena and the Joker were there, you know, because there was that one moment where they had something, and like Martha and Thomas like made them feel warm, even if they didn't like necessarily interact with them. You know what I mean? But like, they're like, wow, these strangers that aren't in our lives gave us this.
Yeah.
And then Selena, maybe she is homeless. She just like wanders off, but she feels happy. She has a doll in her hand. It's a cat toy or some stupid shit, you know? And the Joker's like
a Jack in a Box.
and then maybe the Joker doesn't take anything because he doesn't feel he even deserves it. But he was so warm and happy that he goes home and he's like, Dad, like, loses a moment that he's like, oh yeah, my dad's an abusive asshole, but he's so elated that he goes to his dad and his dad beats the shit out of him, like, you weren't supposed to go, you know, something fucked up to like bring him back to Earth. And then a week or two later, those two people died, and it's for Catwoman, it was one of those things that was like, these two good fucking people died, this city is fucking rotten, and I have to be stronger, you know, so I don't ever fall the victim. And the Joker is like, in that weird way, that first crack in that laughter, crack, and like, that's fucking funny. I come home, get my ass whooped, and these two people that I've never met before that don't even know my name gave me a fucking toy.
Yeah.
And now they're dead and my dad's still alive.
Yeah. And
that's a fucking joke.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
And it just, that night.
And it's just the hint. It's just the spark that, you know, like, it affects Bruce the most because they're his parents. But yeah, for the Joker and for Catwoman, they're both kind of like, this world is fucked. You know, whatever their slant it is, but it's something like that.
And it'd be interesting because Catwoman was like, there are good people. I'm just not going to be one of them for a while, you know, because I'm going to be tough. But she sees it because she saw them. But the Joker is like, no, this whole thing is silly.
Yeah,
you know?
Exactly.
This game is rigged and it's fucked up. And it's just... And we're not saying that it would, like, next day they're becoming Catwoman the Joker, but it was the very first steps to what was going to the... I think that fucking interesting. Write it down.
It's something I've been thinking about since Gotham came out. You know, it's like that it should be this moment that a lot of, or at least a handful of the most important characters in the Bat mythos should have been there for. It somehow, like, echoed and rippled through the city, you know, and it was just like, it's as if Gotham was balanced and now it's off its axis, you know, like just a bit, and that slant is what descends it to where it eventually needs a Batman, you know? And it just gets worse and worse and worse, and he's like, Gotham is in bad shape, but there's enough people pushing back, but then once that happens, it just falls off the fucking rails, you know?
It's kind of like, we're not going to get too much into it, but it's kind of like that, like, the political vibe going is like, once there was someone who saw this point of view, everyone came out of the woodwork, you know, in that regard. So once Thomas and Martha got fucking pieced out, the good people that were pushing back kind of just said, fuck it, I'm gonna mind mine. You know, and then it let the corrupt become even more corrupt, and it really strengthened, you know, the underworld of Gotham. And so much so that it deep rooted for like the next 20 fucking years.
Instead of like the setup of Batman Begins, when it's like, your parents' death shook the powerful out of apathy, and Gotham kind of limped on.
It's like a reverse.
It's a reverse of that, yeah. So like Gotham was good until that happened, and then the powerful were like, I don't need to die in an alley.
I don't need to put my neck
in front
out
of my
there
son.
anymore.
Yeah, and you know, like people like Falcone and Rupert Thorne and Daggett, and then were just
they
kind
fed
of
off of that.
Just feed off of it completely, and then that gave Rose to kind of a criminal, something along the lines like Bruce wouldn't be the first person to think of theatricality and like fear. And so we have someone like Black Mask, or, you know, like someone that has a little
which then
bit
turns
of
Batman into fighting fire with fire. It's like, you created a persona, you created this mythical Black Mask, you created these fucking evil figures.
And like, so it works too. Like, you can have the Court of Owls, and you can even just have it be a part of the lore, but you never have to meet a Talon, you never have to meet the Court of Owls. But the fact that the Court of Owls, as a legend that runs through Gotham, is something that would add to a child who grew up with murdered parents to make a persona to fight crime, well, it would be something like the Court. You know, it's like, oh, there's the Owls, the Talons. You know, like, well, I'll be something like that. You know, that's where my mind goes.
This subconscious, like, why bats, Mr. Wayne? You know, it's like, Court of Owls, Alfred. I don't know, but that'd be really fucking interesting. God! I think, wow, that's actually kind of gave me chills. Like, that's a really cool fucking thing, and I like the idea that if Gotham basically lost its way when Thomas and Martha were fucking pieced out, and it rose it. I like the idea that it basically turns Batman, because, you know, I don't necessarily hate the argument, but I've never been a huge supporter of the idea that Batman created his villains. Like, I always like the idea of, like
he created some, and he didn't create all of them.
Yeah. But I like the idea that it was like, if you really went down to it, it's like, the way this story would develop, it's like Batman didn't create the Joker. The Joker, Batman, and Catwoman were all made on the same night through very different ways. It was like, but it was the act of one criminal, one bad person that created Batman, but set off a chain reaction. So it's not like, oh, well, Batman creates all his villains. Like, yeah, he'll create some. You know, some will be, you know, have a vendetta against him. Some will want fucking revenge, or just like, I hate Batman, or just, you know, fucking like super hard on for him, you know. It's like, oh, he's the best, the ultimate test of my skill, you know. But in this case scenario, it was like, no, it was still the act of a piece of shit criminal in a street who was fucking stealing, you know.
Yeah. And it was like one of the first real times that like Gotham reared its ugly head. You know, like, what is this city? What is this abyss? You know, and I think like you could even mention like the Elliots. Like, let's say the Elliots start pulling back, you know, because they're one of the founding families of Gotham, and they start pulling back, and then the Cobblepots become corrupt, you know. So they all kind of start to like, the whole dynamic of this city changes because of this one event. It's kind of like, well, when people suffer a traumatic event and their whole life is derailed. You know, it would be, but Gotham, that's what happened. Like,
that'd be really
Gotham
fucking
was
interesting.
derailed and mangled because of this one night, this one terrible thing. And there are people that experience it firsthand, and then people experience it secondhand. You know, something like that I think would be a lot
would be
of fun
fucking
to
cool.
see.
You got my
the
movie
first
money
one,
already.
The first one is just basically like an action-packed Batman fest, you know, and he's kind of, you can do the memories and some of the like, where did he train, you know, like some techniques that he picked up or whatever. And then to have both Deadshot and Deathstroke in it would make me really happy. But have a Deathstroke that like his you see Flashpoint Paradox, the animated movie?
Yeah.
In that there's a version of Deathstroke in it, and he's real slim, he's real trim.
Yeah, he's real like ninja like. Yeah.
That version like that, you know.
Yeah, the big armored, bulky, you know. Which I dig that version, but I the slimmer, agile.
But just seeing it at the end of Justice League was kind of like, ew, you know.
Oh yeah. He looked so like he couldn't move.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But so did Batman. So a version where they can fight. Each fight scene is kind of an escalation, and then
And I like the idea of like having Deathstroke and Deadshot. Like Deadshot would be, they're both these cool masked characters, right? But one I mean, they both didn't necessarily, you know, have guns and shit, but you have one who's primarily like that fucking gunner, you know, fucking explosions, shit like that. And then you have one who's like, no, I can be right there with you in hand-to-hand combat with a fucking blade. You know what I mean? Like, that'd be really cool.
So the first, like, the mid-boss is Deadshot, and it's the gadget Batman, you know, the one that's fighting against the gun, the one that's long range, the one that has to outwit him and all this and dodge bullets and you do a lot of ninja shit, and you know, it's a lot of gadget shit, and it'd be a lot of fun, I think. But then you get to Deathstroke, and Deathstroke, you know, he's gonna toss his gun aside and he's gonna fight this motherfucker face to face, and it's just the most brutal.
That would
long
be cool.
Fight
Like
between
throwing
two
his guns down, he kind of like makes a comment about Deadshot, and also a stab at him too. It's like, well, we always saw what guns got him. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
That'd be kind of cool to toss his guns to the side, and
I like they have like I think it's in the comics. There's like a standing rivalry, like who's the better assassin, and it's like, well, the first one to get hired to take out the other wins. So it's like, oh, shit.
Jesus.
Yeah, and I would think like the second movie is more about Gotham, like what happened that night and how did all this like affect people, and how did kind of the spirit of this metropolis kind of just come undone, like its brain was undone, kind of like the way people will talk about how America was after Vietnam. This city is now that, you know, it's kind of like mangled and weird, and people are uncomfortable going there. People are like, oh no, it's the best, you know, but I don't want to live there.
Yeah.
And the people that do live there feel almost as if they're trapped. And then
like, why don't you just move? It's like, I don't got fucking made out of money, bro. I can't move.
Exactly,
like, this is my town, you know. And then there would be someone that's like, this is my fucking town, man, you know.
Yeah, exactly. And there'd be cool. A bunch of, you know, diehard Gothamites, and then there'd be a bunch of people that like the haves and the have-nots. That gap would be very, very wide, and to kind of, you could use that movie to kind of like talk about class, and you can, I don't know if you could introduce Hush, because he's such a like a deep cut kind of villain.
I would want to
but I would
try.
like maybe Thomas Elliott is in it, you know? And I would really like to see, like, if the first one has flashbacks to Bruce's training, then this one has flashbacks to Bruce as he is interacting with Gotham. And some of that is his interaction. Like, I think that I don't know, I've never looked it up, if the history of Oswald Cobblepot is that he was ostracized by his parents, or if he still went to prep school and all that stuff.
Yeah,
but if he was if he was part of the aristocratic society, that him and Bruce kind of ran in similar circles, and they knew each other, and their kind of like parallel journey. And same with Thomas Elliot, that he was also there. That these guys were like the cream of the crop, and you can almost make it like an anime. Like three buddies, like Bruce is the brooding, quiet one, Oswald is the one that gets picked on, and Thomas is the main character. So we think he's like the big smiley guy, right?
Yeah, the guy who's gonna have everything handed to him.
Yeah, and he's good looking, and he doesn't have any mental problems and stuff like that.
It's like, oh, we're all 12, but he's already like 5'10", 5'11", like he's already like he's play college football.
Exactly. His whole life is planned out for him, and he loves every minute of it, right?
Yeah.
And then throughout the story, it's revealed that, like the deviating paths that they've taken and how kind of fucked this world has been. But maybe those two weren't ever good to begin with. And Gotham kind of brings out the most powerful impulses that you have. It's some kind of like animalistic instinct that you have, something that just Gotham knows how to grab on and amplify.
Yeah.
And with them, they got worse, Bruce got better, and maybe you don't even know that, like Thomas Elliot, or like Thomas never tells Batman that he's Thomas Elliot and he's Bruce Wayne. They don't need to know that, but we know that they are through the storytelling. Even as fans know that they know each other. Yeah. But in the movie, you can just show that they did know each other, and now they're facing off, and they're like clashing ideologically and stuff like that. And I really, really love the idea of the Cobblepots and the Waynes having to constantly run into each other. They're like kind of, oh god, we gotta hang out with the Cobblepots tonight. It's like, well, just be nice.
Yeah.
Like you saw what happened to their son.
Yeah.
It's like, what?
Yeah, that big nose fuck.
Right. Yeah. It's like he's so
weird.
He's so mean.
Smells like fish.
Like, well, what do you mean? It's like, and Bruce kind of trying to like. Maybe, Oswald maybe he's ugly or whatever, and his parents telling him, no, you don't judge people like that. You get to know this kid. But Bruce can see it too. Like, no, he's cruel. I've seen him like break a pigeon's neck or, stuff like that. And you just kind of like keep going forward.
Eats fish heads.
Yeah, it's really weird. He bites people's noses. There's not a lot of reflective surfaces in the sewer, Mom.
Nice.
But that would be that. And then I think the third movie is Joker. I would kill to have another scene like in The Dark Knight was as close to this scene as we ever got, but Batman in Arkham Asylum talking to the Joker.
Yeah.
And I would like to see. I don't know if this was how I would want it to work, but I would love for Batman to have to be on the hunt for something, or he's trying to figure some big thing out. And the Joker is the only one that can help him for whatever reason, and not that they have a team up outside of the bank.
No, he just goes
but that
to
he
him.
just keeps going to Arkham.
Kind of like a Hannibal Lecter situation.
Exactly, yeah, that exact relationship, and Bruce keeps going back to him, and somehow it like strengthens their bond, but also it like strengthens the antagonistic nature of their relationship, and you get to have a lot of character-driven moments between Batman and the Joker, and stuff that I just think all of us have kind of wanted, but you can't pack that into one movie, and you can't stretch it over three.
It'd be cool to have a moment, a scene, I don't know where you would put it, but obviously toward the end, but that moment or scene where, like, maybe there's this weird, like, Batman kind of, like, I think I can help you, I think I can save you,
Yeah.
and, like, maybe even the Joker's like, you think? Maybe? And then something fucking devastatingly fucked up happens, and it's the Joker who did it, and Batman's just like, you're supposed to be the chosen one. I hate you. Like, I would just starts laughing
because that's one of my favorite moments of The Killing Joke is when Bruce offers to help the Joker, and like you don't have to be on the edge alone, and that's so important. I think like
people
getting
forget
across
about that.
How much humanity, how much Bruce cares about people, and how much he wants to help, and to have that relationship to where after this long movie, the trial and error, and even like the Joker getting frustrated with whatever Batman is facing, that gets to a point to where he's antagonistic, and then it starts to be like, no, let's get this guy, because fuck him, because he's making fun of me now or whatever.
Yeah.
And then they're kind of working together. Yeah. That's great. And then for him to kind of like, there's a chance, just the ghost of a chance that like after they are standing over the rebel victorious, that Bruce can extend his hand, and that the Joker for a second considers it. And it's probably the most crazy thing that he'll ever do. and then he'll just roll back like, no, it's too late for me, and then
Oh, dude, you know what would be so cool? Or maybe cheese. Who fucking knows? But I'm all about the cheese. Like, they have that moment where, like you said, they're standing in the rubble of victory and shit. And, like, maybe Batman, I don't know if he says something. He'll say something cool and, like, extend his hand, And, like you said, Joker thinks about it. And maybe gives, like, a little smirk and goes and reaches his hand. And then, like, a little flip of his fucking wrist. And there's a fucking Joker card. And he puts it in his hand and fucking, like, just walks off. Like,
that'd be cool.
That would be fucking awesome. Like, oh, shit!
So that's what I want, like, the first movie to be really trim, but action heavy. And then the second movie to be more about the city itself. And then the third movie would be, like, a character piece. It would just be about Batman and the Joker. And how they kind of, like, are two sides of the same coin. And how they necessarily can't exist without the other. And they somehow make each other better and somehow make each other worse. And then for as long as there's a Batman, there is going to be a Joker. I would love to see, like, Alfred and I don't know who, but kind of like digging up stuff about the Joker, and they could do the whole like Pale Man stuff from the Scott Snyder Batman run, which I think would be really, really cool. And I would like to see, I don't know, I'd like to see some like meditative shots of Bruce as Batman. I would like to see him kind of...
He's more than just a suit.
Yeah.
Like, Batman is an entity.
And it would be cool to see a lot of like detective work and stuff.
That would be cool.
But I would absolutely have to have scenes where he's like in the cave, he's taking his gloves off, pulls the cowl back.
I love it.
And he's just sitting there, he's thinking, he's reading, he's, and like you had said in yours about like he has to answer the phone and he's still in his bat suit, shit like that.
Yeah.
I really, really like.
Like, I think the two closest we've ever gotten was the scene in Batman Returns where he's pulling his gloves off and he pulls the claw out of his side. It's like, oh, so close. If only he had the mask off.
He's like, you're in a lot of pain. Not really.
Yeah, and then I think it was also in Batman Returns where he's just, at the cave and I think it might have been the first one. He's just sitting there, but he has no suit on. It's just like a turtleneck and fucking pants. Like, put the bat suit on. And we're back, ladies and gentlemen. Just those moments where I don't remember them being in the Christian Bale movies. I don't remember if there was a scene because there was never really a Batcave scene.
Yeah, they're just in Dark Knight Rises when he figures out who Selena Kyle is and he's kind of like running the numbers on the computer or whatever.
Yeah, it's not really.
There's not a whole lot of Batman.
No, I need a Batcave scene too because that shit's too good.
One thing that I would like to pack the movies with would be a bunch of like sweaty iconography and visuals as far as the Batman legend goes. Like a lot of scenes of him in the cave, just like looking at his computer trying to study or solve a case. A lot of him perched on top of buildings.
Rain.
Or
need some rain in the bitch.
some real rain, some like fucking Sin City type of rain, like really hard, heavy rain. A lot of great moments where he gets to move almost like a ninja or like a wraith, I would like to no longer hear what Batman could do and just see what Batman could do.
That would be cool, yeah, because we do get too much more of the myth talk. Like, let's just witness it as viewers. Let's just see. That way it makes more sense in the second and third movies. It was like, fucking, this dude, he moves faster than everything I've ever seen, Yeah. That'd be really cool.
I would like to
see that. Your bat suit, what's it look like?
All right, so Batsuit would look something like, I don't know, Big Bat. Big Bat across the chest. I like the suit from Dark Knight, but maybe a little more gray, a little less black. And I'd want it to be like tactical and thin. I want him to be able to move around. And I think I would like to see each movie should be a different suit, right? The first one should be a bit more bulky and a little harder to move around in, just because he doesn't really know what he's doing and he's trying to protect himself as best as possible. The second one, he needs more motion and fluidity. And then the third one would be kind of like a perfect version of it. Yeah, something that was... I'm trying to think of like something...
You want to turn your head.
Definitely have the ability to turn his head. But yeah, something sleek. I think that the smaller bat ears would be cool, but I wouldn't want them like pointing in on themselves. I want them to be kind of like the edge of his head.
Yeah. Kind of Jim Lee-esque.
Yeah. And Frank Miller-y, Year One, Mazzucchelli kind of. That would be really cool.
It would be kind of cool to see like a smoke gray with like a really like awesome dark blue, because like you hear a million times it was like, well, wearing black in the darkness actually isn't what you're supposed to wear blue, like, because blue matches the background of the sky, depending on, of course, on the sky and shit.
Yeah.
I thought that'd be kind of cool. It's like, Even though black will always look fucking awesome, it'd be kind of cool to see a gray, but like a dark blue to where it's almost like, oh, it's so dark I can't tell it's blue. It's like, no, that's blue. That's a gray and blue bat suit. Like that's the shit. That'd be kind of cool. But I mean,
I would like to see, and even like
does it have yellow,
a black and gray,
or is it just the symbol?
I think it's just the symbol.
Okay.
Yeah, the circle isn't something that I necessarily need to see until maybe like the last frame of the last movie. Yeah. You know, where he's just like
his perfect suit.
Yeah, a fucking badass like comics perfect suit that he gets to just like stand there and you know look badass in. And also something that I had mentioned on yours that I just fell in love with because it sets up 6 movies instead of 3. Is that the first one starts with an old Bruce Wayne talking to someone and kind of going over the history of his life. And the second one, it kind of elaborates on that. And then the third one, it ends and it's Terry McGinnis. So in these 3 movies, you get to have like, oh my God, at the end of it, you know, like that's Terry McGinnis and that's the future version of Batman. But if the studio wanted, just make Batman Beyond after that, you know, so then you have your next 3 movies and you've already cast Terry McGinnis and we already have old Batman. I think that'd be a fun way to shout that out. I think one of the purest forms of these heroes have been the animated series versions of them, Superman, Batman,
we will
Justice
always
League,
go back to it
Batman
until
Beyond.
something can beat it.
They're so good, they're so pure, and they introduce so many great elements to that mythology that I think nodding to them would be super cool and it'd be kind of important, you know?
I think
like,
so.
I
feel like
Terry deserves his spot somewhere.
Going back to design and suits and stuff like that, my next question is, because I already kind of feel like it should be one way, judging from everything you said, but I need to know, what are the eyes? Is it the paint? Is it they're silhouetted? Is it a white eye? Is it a glowing eye? Is he like...
I would really like... I don't really have a problem with the human eyes. Like the
I love the human eyes with the black
makeup.
Yeah.
It looks really cool. But I think...
I feel like your version of Batman needs to have glowing white eyes.
I would want it by the second and third movie to start having the white eyes. And
dude, that would be cool. Like his first, he has the paint, the black around, and he just has that. But then as his suit gets better, he knows like, no, I need actual protective lens, and I'm gonna go ahead and like make him glow so that way I can strike fear into the hearts of villains.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Exactly.
Like, this dude ain't human, man.
And I would definitely do a lot of like we had talked before. I like the return of Easter eggs that can then be like explored later if they wanted to, but maybe have Bruce Wayne talk to Vic Sage, who's the Question. But you don't have to call him the Question. He doesn't have to come in and like, ooh, that's a mystery. Just have him talk to his like, oh yeah, I was supposed to talk to Vic Sage. I'm supposed to do an interview with him. You know, and then their wires get crossed or whatever.
Yeah.
And like we're just like actual Easter eggs, just little things in the background that kind of go, oh, that's from whatever, like the way that, what was it? I think it's the second Cap movie. There's like in the background on a screen of a computer is analyzing Cap's shield. That was you remember how jazzed we got about it? Was Iron Man 2?
Yeah, it was either Iron Man 2 or Iron Man 3. Yeah, I remember that. It was 2. I think it was 2. I think I remember that.
We got so excited for it,
because he was trying to find a new element. And we thought, oh, maybe it's gonna be from his shield.
Maybe vibranium. Yeah, because they didn't even say it.
And then he just made an element.
Like, oh, his dad had showed. Yeah.
Shut up.
That movie sucks. But
fuck, I was gonna say something. Shit. Oh my god, I can't remember it. So continue on. God damn.
But I would love to see little things like that, like the hints of a wider world. But I guess people that are in his wheelhouse. So like Batman is the highest in the street level of the DC universe. So it would be cool for him to touch base with like the Question, and it would be cool for him to touch base maybe with like definitely Montoya and Bullock and Gordon and them. I think that these characters should be somewhere in these stories. They really, really ought to be.
It'd be kind of cool. Like you have a scene where he's in his office and he's wrapping up a conversation with someone, a Vic Sage or just someone, or maybe just nobody. Like he's got to go, and it's like his fucking. Phone goes off and it's like, yes, Barbara or Janine or the receptionist, and it's like, sir, you have a 4:00 interview with the Planet with Mr. Kit, and it's like, it's actually Kent, and it's like, oh, can you cancel that? I tell him we'll reschedule.
It's okay, don't that.
That was so awesome, but you don't even see it. It's just from the thing. It's like that'd be so cool.
Love that.
It's actually Kent. It's okay. Don't worry about it. I'll come back.
I would love to see, like, just for my sweaty, fandom, would be like a big banquet dinner, like a fundraiser in the second movie, and
Free shows up. No.
Well, that'd be cool too. But to have like some of the better, higher aristocratic kind of characters to be there, like I would love for there to be a table where Bruce is there and Lex is there, and even Thomas Elliot, Cobblepot, but also like Oliver Queen, like he's there, like, and they have to interact with each other, and maybe they don't get along, maybe they do, And
yeah, maybe Bruce and Oliver are like, real cool with each other.
Yeah, maybe they really see
fucking Batman and Green hate each other.
Yeah, and that would be awesome because maybe they don't understand how similar they are, but in this aristocratic society, they can be fake, and in this fakeness kind of find an honest camaraderie with each other.
Maybe they can read each other's fakeness, so they go to the bar and they're kind of joking around, like the fakeness of the room and this and that. It's like, I always liked you, Wayne,
Yeah.
But when they fucking cross, like eventually in the future, when Batman and Green Arrow fucking cross,
they just don't get along. Fucking don't like you. This dude. Yeah.
That would be cool.
Really cool.
That would be fucking sweet.
Little things like that. Have Lois there, and like I love that idea of that would be my Superman appearance in these 3 movies. Would be your interview, the reporter is here from the Daily Planet,
Mr.
Clark is here or whatever. It's like, oh, it's Clark. You know what? Don't worry about it. Just that you hear it over the speaker would be
that would be so cool.
That would be amazing. And not for Bruce to be like a shithead, but also to be dismissive. It's like, oh, well, we can reschedule. Like, I'm sorry, but no, not today. Something's come up. Whatever. I would really like that. I think that more Easter eggs, I think, are more exciting than just flat out,
pointing shit.
Like when they found the photo of Wonder Woman, it's like,
oh god,
why not? Like, her theme hits and all that. But yeah, that would be the kind of like meat and potatoes of my 3 Batman movies. But I think I would just want there to be a lot more, I guess, Batman. I think
Batman.
It's weird that something like the Umbrella Academy is not ashamed at all for what it is, and it's totally upfront with, we're based on a fucking comic book, and this comic book is so self-referential, and it comes from this place, and fuck you, and somehow mainstream, especially DC movies, aren't like that. They're not necessarily 100% proud to be a comic book movie. It seems like they're still a little ashamed.
Weird. It's like, no, we're gonna make this serious, but this could really happen.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like.
That's why I really liked Aquaman, because Aquaman is one of the first, and it's not even totally like this, but it's one of the first that's kind of like, it's Underwater Kingdom, so fuck off.
Which I feel like it's so weird because like the MCU is like, no, we're embracing our craziness, and the DCU or DCEU is kind of like, no, this could like really happen. We're so cool and real, but I feel like maybe not so much anymore, or maybe so because I haven't read comics in a while. But in the past, it was a flip. Marvel was very like, no, this is real and gritty and awesome, and DC was like, no, we are heroes. Champions. We fly in the sun.
Exactly.
We have the money shots of fucking superheroes. Like, we embrace our hero world while you guys are like embracing your like, no, this is gritty and like,
there's still an element of like shame and
slaps his
Hank Pym is a son of a bitch.
He's a son of a bitch, and Tony's an alcoholic. Fuck y'all.
But I just don't like that there is still that kind of element of shame, it seems like, from the Warner Brothers stable of movies.
Disney's gonna buy AT&T. No, I'm just kidding.
Dude, it's not gonna be long before there's just one company, there's one beast with many heads, right? Yeah. But that's basically all I can think of as far as what I thought I would want to see in a Batman movie. I wouldn't want to get into the really weird or corny character. Like, for me, I know there are fans of Hugo Strange. I don't like the character. I don't think he's very
sometimes
interesting.
He's like, I don't think I ever read or saw something that was really perfect, except for maybe the animated series where they introduced him. Mm-hmm. I thought that was really cool. It's the only version of Hugo Strange I've ever kind of liked, Yeah. But I feel like most people just can't get a grip on him. They just always, and maybe he is, but they always treat him just like the mad scientist.
Yeah.
Like, I get it. His name is Hugo Strange, but I think you could really play him up to be a really dominant villain as opposed to the
cool thing about like the Batman Rogues Gallery, which to the death I'll fight anyone thinks that he doesn't have the best Rogues Gallery.
He does. I'm sorry.
Is that you take some characters like Scarecrow, Riddler, and Dr. Hugo Strange, and there still isn't like a definitive story of them. Like there's still plenty of stories to tell with these kind of less than stellar villains. And characters. They're really likable. There's like what Tom King is doing with Kite Man is unbelievable. Like that he just tells
a really good Kite Man story.
The way he's worked him into his Batman run is like, see all this stuff. There's so many toys to play with. It's,
wow.
it's
talent.
Almost not fair, you know. And I think that's kind of how a testament to Batman's rogues gallery. They're all fantastic, and they're lend themselves to so many different interpretations. So I would like to see. Well, I guess one thing in the third one I would like to see is, as he's talking to the Joker and kind of like the back and forth, is that every time he goes into Arkham, he has to deal with a couple of other crazies, you know, and they can just like slam themselves up against.
Oh, I always love shit like that.
Right?
I
Yeah,
love
like
shit like that.
No, like Scarecrow, just Crane, Jonathan, you know, or Enigma, Edward, or whatever. Whoever's there. I think there's an episode of Batman where he walks into the Arkham.
Yeah.
Like Poison Ivy like clutches her rose, you know, and
She's like
Two-Face's
afraid of
flipping
him.
his coin. Yeah.
Yeah, they're all kind of looking, and they're like a prison. They're all looking out.
Yeah, they're
the
just
thing.
looking at him, watching
Kamala was fucking scared of him.
I would love to see something like that. You know, that would be really great. And I would like to see, you know, like Joker lose his shit periodically. If somebody starts shouting, you know, like from down the hall, you know, and the Joker's just like, Harvey, I'll rip your fucking locks out, you know, that kind of thing. There's like I think it was called Joker's Asylum. There's a miniseries in the aughts. Jason Aaron wrote the Penguin one, and it starts with like the Joker telling tales about Batman's rogues, and it's like the first page is that like the Joker's like talking to the viewer, and then like Harvey says something. He's like, Harvey, you better shut the fuck up, or I'll fucking kill you. He like freaks out yelling at him, and then he gets back to the story.
Oh my god, that's
so
awesome.
It's a really, really good story. But Jason Aaron's a great writer. I would love to see something like that. Just a lot of that Batman lore. You know, just like fucking tons of time in
It'd be
Arkham.
interesting, and it doesn't have to be in the Batman movies. I'm just throwing it out there. But like, I've always loved when people complain, which, I mean, I can understand the complaint, but it's like you have this section of Arkham that has, you know, like, can you imagine Batman walking down and it's like, there's Poison Ivy, there's Two-Face, there's a special cell for Freeze. There's fucking, you know, this stinky, dank, fucking, like, almost dungeon cell for Croc. Like, leading to the Joker. It'd be interesting if, like, through maybe side stories or something else, or maybe just in the background, like, this debate, this political debate on, like, fucking just kill them. Like, kill them all. And it's like, they're still human beings. You know what I mean? Like, that
and
weird...
it would be cool, too, like, to see Bruce as Batman, like, walking through the halls and kind of, like, I don't know how well you remember 2049 Blade Runner. Mm-hmm. But when Kay is walking through the hall and they're like, watch it meet Zack, and he's just kind of like, you know, for Batman to walk down the halls and just have some of the orderlies just like, God, you belong here too, you fucking freak.
Yeah.
Like, and other people are like, shut up, it's Batman. You know, and he's just kind of like looking over his shoulder.
Ass.
Yeah. That'd be really cool. Just stuff like that I would love to see. I would love to, I feel, and this is probably just because I love him so much, but that Swamp Thing and Batman are kind of connected, and not in like a really significant way. But
I don't know if
something
you
about
planted
them.
that seed in my head, but I've always felt that way too. Like there should be some
it'd be
kind
cool
of
if, like it. I would like the Easter eggs kind of for Bruce to be kind of like at the computer or like watching TV or something. And it's like, what happened in Louisiana? You know, it's like he's trying to like, whoa, Alec did what? You know, or something like, whoa, like I had to hear something happened there. And it's basically the formation of the Swamp Thing, but he doesn't mention it like by name or something. He's just like, oh, one word, or like, oh, I have to get back to what I'm actually doing. But that's weird, you know?
Yeah.
It'd be cool for him to see like these absurd dark corners too that somehow gravitate towards Batman and the void that is kind of Gotham City. So
that would be
really cool.
Yeah.
But that's what I would just want kind of like though it wouldn't be as colorful and as fun as like Spider-Verse, it would want something that's as
but technically shouldn't be.
What I feel. Character.
Yeah, it's like
that to be that love lettery to Batman and his entire history, and just kind of I think you can give the fans what they want without doing fan service.
Yeah,
do you know what I mean?
100%.
And I think there's some filmmakers out there that can do that. I'm really interested to see Matt Reeves' take on it. Well, can't wait to see who. I mean, the fact that Robert Pattinson is kind of like close to maybe being Batman, that's a really interesting choice.
That's interesting.
That's almost that's almost as bizarre as Heath Ledger being the Joker. Yeah. You know? And the only movies I've only seen Robert Pattinson in one movie, and that was The Lost City of Z. Mm-hmm. And he was damn good in that. Yeah. He was really fucking good in that.
I hate that movie.
Really?
That movie sucks.
I love that movie.
Really?
Yeah.
I gotta tell Tim.
It's slow as fuck, but the ending makes up for it. Like, it's one of those, like, finish strong, finish hard. The ending is so compelling.
I can't remember the ending.
Tom Holland and Charlie Hunnam get carried off to get eaten and killed.
Oh, that's right. That does
I don't know if they eat him, but they kill him.
Yeah.
And the music that's playing, it's a perfect ending. It's really good. The beginning is really slow. It's very British.
We were all watching it, and I was making food, and we were just like, when does this movie start?
But I would like to see more of that. And I think, what's his name? Matt Reeves. So he did. I remember watching Cloverfield for the first time and thinking, oh, how cool would it be to shoot a superhero movie like this? What if you did Crisis on Infinite Earths from Man on the Street, just like Cloverfield, but instead of there being a Clover in the army, it's like the superheroes and the supervillains.
Dude, I would.
I remember thinking that would be so cool, and now Matt Reeves is working on a superhero movie.
I would dig that so much, and that's the beauty part about Batman and Gotham and all of those connecting fucking webs is that you could do anything. Like I would watch a fucking movie where it followed like the lives of just random fucking people in Gotham that dealt with Batman. Like I would love to hear that argument. Like I could see Batman walking down the hall and those two guards fucking like one of them kind of talking shit under his breath and the other one like shut the fuck up, and then they're like they go to a fucking and they're like I don't understand why we're gonna entertain this fucking psychopath. Like he's a vigilante. Why are we arresting him? I'm like, dude, he's fucking Batman. You know,
it's like we're not technically authority. Like we're not.
It's like it's like, but who let him in? It's like the warden. The fucking whatever the warden says goes. It's above our pay grade. It's like that's bullshit. Like. Yeah, like those
have you
debates.
Ever met Arkham?
Yeah.
He's crazy.
Yeah. He's a fucking maniac.
Saw his mom die or whatever. Like, that would be cool for them to just kind of like for them to have some kind of debate or whatever. And I think I would definitely leave like No Man's Land out just because right now they're doing it in Gotham and it's been done before. So I think I don't need it right now. I don't need to see that in this version. But I think for the most part, seeing like the design of the city and the Batmobile and all this other shit is kind of not super important to me.
Yeah,
like I would like them to be really well done, of course. Like different visual.
I feel like people who take on Batman, it's like, okay, we got to get Bruce right, we got to get Batman right, we got to get the city right, and we got to introduce the Batmobile before they ever fucking click on like, well, what about Robin? What about those stories like. I wish, and I get it because Michael Keaton, that Batmobile was so fucking iconic. Yeah,
T-shirts and shit.
And I never liked it after that, except for the Tumblr. I love the Tumblr. Anybody who fucking knows me knows that I love the Tumblr. I love it more than fucking Keaton's Batmobile. Like the Tumblr is my Batmobile because it's like, oh, it's a fucking tank that can jump on rooftops and super stealth and shit like that. Like it makes sense. Oh yeah, and then it can turn into a bike. Yeah, like it's fantastic. It's my favorite.
And honestly, I've told you this before. My favorite is the BBS Batmobile.
Oh yeah.
I think it's such a well-designed Batmobile. It's like muscular and strong and fast, but nimble. Like it's almost like a sports car, but almost like a tank.
Yeah.
I just really dig it.
Mm-hmm. It almost feels like they ripped that out of the games too, because that's the way in the second or third or whatever. That's what that car felt like. Really? It almost kind of looked like that too. Because when I see that, I was like, that reminds me of the fucking game, the Arkham game.
It feels like that Batmobile feels like it's the Tumbler that went on a diet.
Yeah.
Like slimmed down.
Why as his suit got fucking slimmed down, he was like, I'm carrying too much weight.
Exactly. So that kind of stuff is, I think, easier to figure out than the main.
Yeah, absolutely.
And like what the plot would be and how you can make a celebration of the character for the fans. But that's what I would want to see.
I think it's fun. You have my ticket money. Let's go.
Perfect.
Let's do it.
Movie for me. Did you want to discuss anything, or was there anything that came?
No, I think you stole the show on that one. I think that was fucking phenomenal. I liked everything, and then the only other thing I cared about was what your batsuit would look like. Everything else can work itself out.
Right. I feel like there's other people. They hire pay grade. They can figure it out and give a shit.
It's a better man.
More interested men.
That's really cool. I really like your takes on what you would want to see, and the idea of seeing basically Batman do Dredd, like a Dredd version of Batman or a Batman version of Dredd, whatever you want to say. I was already sold. As soon as you said that, I was like, Batman fighting people in levels and fucking rooftops. And it's cool because that's why I got that image of the Michael Keaton movie, because in the beginning, like you get everything, like you say, when he fights Deadshot, he's gonna have to rely heavily on his gadgets when he's fighting 5 dudes with guns or 10 dudes that bum rush him with bats and chains and shit. Like it's cool because you kind of get both. Like maybe the first couple of levels he's just doing Batman shit and knocking people out, and he's not really getting touched. And as he gets level, more and more people are kind of getting hits on him. He's getting beat up. By the time he gets to the end, he has blood trickling down his nose. His suit's a little dusty and beaten up. half of his gadgets are gone, you know.
Exactly,
so
yeah.
it turns into like, you know, that moment where maybe even muscle memory, he goes to grab for something and he's like, fuck, I'm out, you know. It's like I have to rely on something else and like really sharpen his skills. And then you have the fucking, and I think I like that idea that like Bruce sets up this whole thing, so it's like there is no final boss. Deathstroke is the final boss, like, you know, because then once he beats him, like that was it. So when Deathstroke has to report back or some shit to Bruce, you know, like Bruce can just go like, oh well, you know, he's just like, do you not care? It's like, I was just bored, you know, or something weird like that, to where it's like
I don't know what you're talking about.
Oh yeah, I don't know what you're talking about. Can some security? It's like, oh shit, like what the fuck? Like, what do you mean? What the? You know, like lose his shit.
Or even if you wanted to, like, it would be like he was some other persona, right? And then like once he's like gets off the phone, you see like the mask of the face, like the human face that's on a mannequin, and you just hear Bruce talking, and you get like, oh, this old man that hired Deathstroke was actually Bruce in disguise, and
or even whatever like that.
So you never, cool. But yeah, I think that'd be a really fucking kick-ass Batman movie.
Yeah, I'm already sold. You had my money at hello.
Do you want to take us out?
All right, so again, hit us up. We have our Twitter at EOTI_podcast, or you can send us an email at endoftheinternetpod@gmail.com. These are the two best ways to send us a message. And then, of course, commenting in the YouTube video section. You know, we want to hear what you think of Gonzalo's trilogy. What did you think of my trilogy? Who has a better trilogy? You know, which one are you gonna go see first? You know, what would your trilogy be like? What, you know, throw a couple of things out there. Who would you want to cast as your Batman, your villain, stuff like that. We want to hear from you guys. So, you know, if you took some time out to listen to this and you got to the end and you're hearing this, shoot us a message. We would really like to interact with you guys. It'd be pretty awesome.
If you're gonna listen this far, like, you can engage. It'd be cool to talk to you guys.
Yeah, seriously. You know, I think it'd be really awesome. But yeah, I'm curious to know what you guys think.
Yeah, and I'd like to do more of these kind of like wishful filming kind of segments where we're kind of like, what would be our dream?
And if that isn't a thing already, wishful filming, it's a thing now.
It's a thing now.
It's a thing now.
Look for the hashtag.
Episode wishful filming.
Well, for the End of the Internet podcast, my name is Gonzalo.
I'm Marcus.
And you've reached the end of the episode. Have a good night, guys.
Peace.